10. And today in studio is joining me is Arin Davis of the GED and HSED coordinator for the LCOOU Ojibwe University. And we'll be talking about the GED programming that's being offered at the university at no cost to students or potential students. Good morning, Arin.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we were talking before we started the program about some of the, your title is the GED and HSED coordinator, and I was asking what the difference was, and you said there really isn't much anymore on that.
Yeah, traditionally, the HSED was probably preferred for some branches of the military in that there's a couple more requirements and the HSED is the high school equivalency diploma.
Okay.
And so there was a little more criteria or to that than the 4 tests for the GED, but more and more there really isn't much
Yeah,
difference between the two. And most of the students at LCO Ojibwe University, we utilize the HSED diploma or
okay,
degree, and that it's a great individual pathway for students to get their diploma.
sure.
Yeah,
Well, I was telling you earlier too, I have a personal experience with the GED program. I dropped out of high school in 11th grade.
yeah,
And it wasn't until 2.5 years later, I thought, geez, I really need to go back and get my diploma somehow. And this was at a different school district in Minnesota. And it took me about 4 months to get
yeah.
through that. Is
Yep.
that average for
Yeah,
people?
that's one of the questions I always get from students is, okay, how long is this going to take? And it really depends. The students that are sometimes just out of high school, can be a little bit quicker. And returning students, like all of us as we're getting older, we just haven't done some of that type of work for a while. So it can range anywhere from 2 months to 1 year, but I would say 2 to 6 months is a really general idea of time range. And,
Yeah,
and also, the students that make it where they're like, hey, I'm coming in these 2 hours every week, they can really move right through things a little bit quicker because life happens. And so a student might pass 3 of the tests and then have to just take care of, personal stuff for a while or whatever goes
sure.
on before they come back. So, but yeah, time wise, 2 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, just depending. Yeah.
So, what's the process? How does someone start this and say, "Hey, I need to get my diploma
Yeah.
because what I'd like to register for university classes and I need
Absolutely.
that." So,
Yeah. No, and
how do we
that's
start this?
for sure. The first thing to do is just call the university, and that number is 715-634-4790. And the extension for the GED is 196. But you could just call the regular university number and ask for the GED guy or whatever.
Sure.
And then it'd be very important to leave a voicemail for me because I'm there part time, and so if when I'm not in the office, you just really need to leave a voicemail so I can get back a hold of you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it might
Yep.
take a couple days if I'm out until I get back there. And everyone does this for different reasons. Some students are there for transitioning to a university where they are like, okay, I need my high school degree in order to start a community college or start taking classes at the university.
Sure. Yeah.
Others, I have many students that need it for employment. Maybe they're already employed and their employer is like, hey, you're supposed to have or need to
Oh,
have a high
well,
school degree. And the employers are generally pretty flexible about allowing students to come in and because they want those, everyone needs workers right now,
yeah, they
right?
do.
So
Yes, they do.
and those can be really motivated students because they really are like, okay, I need to do this, and it works out. And in fact, a vast majority of my students might be there just for personal growth, where they actually don't have any immediate needs in terms of employment, as a requirement for employment or going on to the university. Uh, but it's something that they just felt like, hey, I never did this. I want to complete this. And
Mhm.
I feel so proud for those students that take this on just for that personal growth
Yeah.
mindset. And a lot of times they have kids that are encouraging them, and
Yeah.
that's always fun.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
So once they call you, you give them a call back, and they come in for their first day. What happens on
Yeah, and
that?
they could even just come into they could just stop by the university. It's just hit or miss if I'm going to be there.
Right.
But yeah, so then we sit down and we would get them registered for the university, and then I just talk with them to see where they're at and why they want to do this, and kind of set up an individual pathway to
Okay.
learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's really what is so nice about the program is, well, there's a lot of things that are pretty fantastic about the program at LCO Ojibwe University, and one is that it's free for tribal and non-tribal members, and
Okay.
so the only requirement is that you're a resident of Wisconsin. So
Oh,
we can
well,
take
that
people.
should be pretty easy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And what's really awesome is we have partnerships with 3 outreach sites, and so we have learning centers, outreach sites at Red Cliff, Bad River, and Lac du Flambeau, and we
Okay.
have we have instructors at each of those sites that
Oh,
I'm in communication with, and
yeah.
and so we really work together. So
So they don't
even if
all have to come to Hayward. They can stay in their
correct, yeah,
home
you do not have to
communities
come to
and
main campus. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and so we just had some graduate from Red Cliff, and so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Is that we're able to provide through these collaborating with different tribal partners. Yeah.
So when a student comes in, they get registered for the classes that you're teaching. How do they know where their strengths are? Let's say they've been out of high school for 3 or 4
Yep.
years, and for me,
Yeah.
math was so hard.
Yep.
But how do you find out where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are and where you need to do some extra work?
Yeah, perfect question, because that's exactly what we would do is we would do some pre-testing,
Okay.
and we would just do some pre-tests. Say if we did a pre-test in science, then we could see, okay, what are your strengths and weaknesses in this in this subject area right now. And one thing that's different, I think, with modern technologies, instead of having to study all of the science for the test, is we can say, okay, here's some areas that you need to build strengths on, and here's some areas that you don't need to build strengths on. So
Yeah.
then I can just focus on getting you the materials and get you set up in terms of some curriculum and learning homework, or there on site tutoring in those areas where you can build your strengths.
Okay.
Yeah, and those tests are just snapshots in time, because
Right.
just like anything, one day you're going to be a little more alert, and another day you maybe have things on your mind.
So you don't do testings on Monday mornings at 6, right?
No, although that might be an okay time. People would be pretty mellow. Yeah. Usually people it's like they're just too nervous. It's like me coming on the radio. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and so what are the subject areas that the GED or the HSED testing involves, and what's the criteria for that passing those things and getting your degree?
Yep. So the subject areas for the GED, which would also be part of the HSED, would be social studies, language arts, math,
Mhm.
and science.
Okay.
And I always we always test the language arts first, and just kind of see where those skills are, because interestingly, all the tests are reading based. So even the math,
Sure.
I have
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that math test, because it's so much reading involved. It's like, well, this isn't really testing just math skills. It's mainly, a lot of problem solving with
Right.
so
Yeah.
so we really want to make sure that we work on the language arts, that reading comprehension first. So that's generally what we do there. And we have a partnership with Wisconsin Literacy, and so we have, even if someone was not interested in getting their HSED, or they have, we have tutors from Wisconsin Literacy if they just wanted to build their reading skills, or even digital literacy.
Yeah.
They do that sort of work. Or if you had children, or any family members that wanted to just get stronger in the area of literacy or digital literacy, we can connect you to those
Sure.
partners. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And how deep does now math was a weak point for me. I never went into anything above algebra or pre-calc or whatever, all those other
Sure.
things. How deep does this testing get in for math? And again, I know
Yep.
you offer the tutoring for that if
Yep.
we're not strong in those areas.
Yeah, well, so it kind of leads into another thing with the HSED, that high school equivalency diploma. We have a special type that the state allows us to offer, and it's called a 509, which is just based on the legislature. the law. But what that allows us to do is we can provide classes or coursework in a subject instead of someone having to pass or get a certain mark on a test. And in math is a great example because many students, the algebra gets pretty complicated actually, and
Yeah.
it's honestly not math that most people would ever use on a day-to-day basis at all,
Right. Yeah.
and so we have almost all of our students have passed the math, but we have a couple that have taken math just as a not just but as the course, and then we're able
Mhm.
to so to speak check that box where they're able to get the credit for that,
Okay.
and then they don't have to make a certain mark on the math test, which honestly is a little bit meaningless, in terms of whether you scored a 160 or a 140, and it's like that, how does that really affect your life? It's like,
Right. Yeah.
how's your financial literacy? How's your financial math is probably
That's
far more
probably
important.
more important,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah, and that's not
than
part of the
trying to
test.
divide or multiply fractions.
Yeah, right.
How often do I, unless I go into carpentry,
Yep,
even that has gone digital,
yep,
or not digital, but decimal
yep,
based versus fractional based. So it's a
yeah,
little different in construction. But
yeah, absolutely.
um, and then let's talk about the social studies aspect. What areas does that cover?
That's going to encompass all of the social studies areas, the history that you would pick up in high school, although I would say it's probably a little more, again, it's very much reading comprehension. And so a lot of the students, it's also learning to analyze and read graphs, interestingly. So a lot of
Oh,
this, yeah, so a lot of it is learning some how to analyze graphs. So then you can just answer the questions on that test.
okay,
Yeah, yeah. There is also a civics component. So there is a civics test, although that is one where we get to just study for it, and I everyone is able to pass that for sure.
sure.
Yeah, yep,
Wow,
yeah,
okay. And then, like you said, the going through all this process, 3 months, 6 months. Again, it depends on the student,
yep.
but on average, how long does it take again for your students?
I think 4
Especially
months
your students, you can really get them going through this, right?
completely. Yeah, yeah, right. Me, yeah. No, I mean, I'm really proud. This year in particular, we've had a lot of graduates, and it's been really fun to see them again. Why they're doing it is for so many different reasons. Some for employment, some for and many just for not just but for personal growth. So 4 months seems to be, I'd say, an average
Okay.
time frame to get through it. Again, it depends. Is it over the holiday time when people
Yeah,
aren't connecting, that sort of thing?
sure.
So there's always like a really nice spring run where everyone's really motivated, and so right now would be a great time to call the university
Yeah, get it
and
started at least.
totally, because it's really the first step is coming in, sitting down with me, and we can just make an individual plan and pathway. And again, that's what's so cool about the program at Ojibwe University, at LCO Ojibwe University, is that it's so individualized
Yeah.
that we can find really the best way for you to reach this goal.
So it's possible if someone called you today, later on today,
Yep,
they started on it, they could get their HSED before fall classes start at the university
definitely possible. Yeah.
and get registered and know, because I'm assuming the registrar is going to say, well, do you have your GED or HSED? And they're going to say, well, no, but I'm in the process of it. And they'll say, okay, we'll just bookmark you for these
Yep,
university
exactly.
classes and get you started.
You'd wanna get started with the HSED, GED program right now,
Yeah.
and you could be ready for fall, and that also depends on some people are working
Well,
50
I was
hours a
just going
week
to
with
say their
kids, yeah, or
availability,
they're
right?
caretaking, so those are all
Yeah.
those things that come up,
Yeah.
um, but you absolutely could be set up to start this in fall, and what's also great about the program is it's integrated within the student services of the university,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so for some students, it's kind of a big deal coming back to school, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of nerves and that sort of thing, so
Especially
just
if they're in their 30s or 40s
yeah,
and they've been out
right.
of school for a while, and it's
Yeah.
like just to get that mindset back into that. It's
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah, and so coming in and just being a part of the university there and seeing, oh, here's the where the science lab is. If I was
Right.
taking a science class, it's right past there. Here's Trio where the student services support
Yeah.
is. So what's great about it, and you're taking tests in the library where you'd be doing research. So it's really nice that students are integrated into the university
Yeah.
there, and it's just a great transition for even if you wanted to take an Ojibwe language class, which is very popular, just taking one
Yeah.
class,
One
yeah,
class.
exactly. After you get done with this is a great way to just, dip your toe in the water and say like, hey, this is what this is like. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Because the university has a lot of degree options and great programs. So there's no reason not to get started.
Now you mentioned as well there's a minimum age for people to get started on that, and what is that and why is that?
Yeah, this happen. I get this question a lot because students drop out of high school, and in order to get your GED or HSED, you need to be 18 and a half, or the class that you are in has needed to have graduated.
Okay.
And that's just a state law, and I believe it's because the state didn't want individuals, at age 16, just passing 4 subject areas
Sure.
and saying, "I'm done. That's it."
Right.
I guess that's it.
So if
Individuals,
I'm
yeah,
18 today and my class of 2023 graduated earlier
you
in
can start.
June, I can start right away.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And sometimes I
Wow.
have students that, have to wait just a little bit to start, but it's okay, come in, make contact. We can still develop a little bit of a plan. And so then when the time comes, you're ready to rock and roll.
So and what's the maximum age?
There's no limit, no limit. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a trick question
Yeah, I
because
know.
I'm thinking there has to be, elders in the community,
Yep.
both native and non-native elders that probably dropped out of high school early because they had to take care of family.
Yes. Yeah.
The parents were otherwise, not around, and they had to take care of their siblings, and they had to drop out of high school. And now that the family is older, and I'm sitting here wondering what I can do with myself. Like you said, a lot of labor employers and stuff are looking for that graduation document. Not that it means a whole lot to them, but it just says, you know what, I committed to finishing my high school diploma
Yep.
and I wanted to get this done. And now you want to move on to the next step of getting a pretty decent job, especially in the trades,
Yeah. Right.
just to get into the trade technical colleges.
Yeah.
You need that. It's a
Yeah, and I
requirement.
found out this year just some certifications in some areas require you to have that high school
Yeah,
diploma, so that if you're in some public works, you also need that. Um,
sure.
yeah, no, but we have many older returning students. Sometimes that pathway, is a little bit more rigorous for them because they've just been out of it for a little bit
Oh
longer,
yeah, right.
but it's those are the students that I can feel extra proud of because a lot of times it is for their personal growth, and it's just really cool to see
Yeah.
people that just are coming for their
Well, and
for
I know
themselves.
at the university graduations that I've been at, there's been a lot of elders that have gone back to get their secondary,
Yeah,
educations, and just not even for anything except to say, I did it, and
yeah,
for self confidence, and just be able to say, I can do this, which
yep.
you can do this. It's not
Absolutely.
that hard. It's
No,
just
I would say the
you
hard
think
part
getting your
is
GED is difficult. Wait till you get into the university system.
yeah, no, I really believe that anyone can do this. The barriers that get in the way are the same barriers that it's just that it's life. Life really starts to
Yeah,
affect everyone, mental health, everything. And so it's just finding the time to come in and make a plan and really trying to stick with it. But we have really great success with students at LCO Ojibwe University. And again,
yeah,
it's a free program. We have wonderful tutors and great staff. So, I think people should know about it, take advantage of it. Again, with the outreach sites at Lac du Flambeau, Bad River,
yeah,
Red Cliff, so you have computer labs and support and instruction there as well.
yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I would encourage my listeners who I do a program with the Anishinaabe Sober Voices, and those who are in recovery. If they really want to make a good step in their lives, those who are in recovery who dropped out of high school because of drugs and alcohol, Now they're in recovery and they really want to take another step in their life to get their GED and have that element of saying, yes, I can be sober. I can go through life, get my GED. Now I can go on to a secondary, post
Yeah.
high school education at the university. And I know several people who are in the AODA programs and are just doing life like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's just great to have that. And for me personally, like I said, when I got my GED 2.5 years after high school, I didn't go on to a post-secondary education element, but it was just something that I needed to say, yes, I can get this done. Even though, yes, it was required for employment, it did give me a lot of self-confidence moving forward in life. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've met so many people that I would have never known that didn't graduate from high school, actually. That
yeah,
it's really not uncommon. And there's so many factors that come into play there. And so there is, you know, people sometimes feel bad about it not having that, but there's really no reason to say, hey, I actually, you can come in and everyone can do this.
yeah,
That I guarantee. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Aaron, give us your contact information again.
Absolutely. So you could call the main campus for LCO Ojibwe University, and that number is 715-634-4790. My extension is 196.
Okay,
And please leave a message. And just as clearly, if you can leave a message and a cell number somewhere where I can return the
sure.
call, would be great. Yeah.
And your email.
The email is adavis@lco.edu. And that's a great way to get a hold of me too. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
adavis@lco.edu.
Very cool.
Or stop in. Honestly, you
Yeah,
could just
honest,
stop.
just
Yeah. So
stop.
if you stop in the main campus, and if you're at one of the outreach sites, just get a hold, just try and get a hold of any contacts there that you can
Yeah,
find. Yeah. Yep. And then we'll be in touch. And yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming in and telling us about this. I hope people take advantage of this. I hope you have at least 5 voicemails in your voicemail box
Me too.
when you
Yeah.
head back.
And summer, and what a great time to start doing
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the studying
You gotta
isn't too bad, I promise. So
yeah.
it gives you something to do too. So yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks,
Take
Mark.
care.
Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.